What's up everyone? So today we're doing something a bit different than usual. Still the same kind of monotype content, don't worry, it is me, so it'll pretty much always be monotype content. But this time I will be tackling a new format instead of monotype. I will be tackling NatDex OU, using only monotype teams. So the point of this series is not to show off each type in National Dex, it's more so to actually try climb. And I think the current aim is going to be top 500 in NatDex OU. It can be done. I've done it before on my test odds when I was actually seeing is this possible or am I out of my mind, and I reached top 500 relatively quickly. So I definitely want to do that again, but this time actually recording me doing it. So these teams I'm going to be using, some of I've tested, some I haven't. But the first team on the list is going to be a mono grass team, and if you've watched my other videos or talked to me on my Discord, which by the way is linked down below, you will know my opinions on monograss are it's not great this generation, unfortunately. It's lacking a lot of tools. I feel it needs to be really good. But National Dex is somewhat different. In National Dex we have things like Kartana back, we have Mega Venusaur, since Megas are back we have Superior, which is great. And the reason I decided to use grass, we have Breloom. For some reason I just had a weird longing to use Breloom recently. I really miss the little Sporey menace. So here we have my mono grass team. We're going to be tackling some National Dex, and you can see here the account is brand new, so we still have completely no games in this, so I'm starting from scratch all the way up to hopefully top 500. And if I like doing it, and more so if you guys like watching, I will happily do another one in like maybe NatDex UU, maybe actual OU, maybe Ubers, just that kind of stuff to kind of bring monotypes elsewhere and see if I can reach top 500 in those ladders. Though I'm not terribly inclined to play regular OU right now because I'm not a huge fan of it. That's here nor there. So we're going to look into the team. First up we have Superior. So Superior is going to be kind of like a wall breaker, or more so a stall breaker. With Substitute I can block things like status effects like Toxic, Thunder Wave, burns, maybe stop like Toxapex from kind of just trying to wear me down, things like that. And thanks to Contrary, Leaf Storm will actually double my special attack after every time I use it, which makes Superior's otherwise fairly lackluster special attack quite threatening after one or two Leaf Storms. Next up we have Dragon Pulse, and Dragon Pulse is good for dragon types in the tier, especially things like Charizard X, I think it is, Charizard X, the dragon one. I always get those mixed up, because it does resist my grass moves quarter by resist, and same with my Hidden Power Fire. And Hidden Power Fire is for dealing things like steel types like Scizor, like Ferrothorn, or things like that. Unfortunately Superior is pretty much completely walled out by the likes of Heatran, but we have other ways to check that on my team. So next up we have Rillaboom. Rillaboom is going to be my setup for a Grassy Surge. I chose Rillaboom over Tapu Bulu because I feel it has that immediate bit of power over Tapu Bulu, as well as having access to Grassy Glide, which I'm not sure if Bulu has access to at the moment. But Rillaboom will have Swords Dance to make its Grassy Glide a lot more effective, kind of just sweeping through teams in the late game, or dealing a huge chunk to threats with priority that will hopefully let things like Kartana or Breloom take care of the rest. Next up we have U-Turn. U-Turn is just there to grab momentum for if I don't want to stay in against a Pokemon, or I come in and I want to set up my grassy terrain and maybe U-turn into things like Ferrothorn or Venusaur or Kartana, for example. And finally we have High Horsepower, and High Horsepower is important over Earthquake because Grassy Surge does actually weaken Earthquake's power by I believe 50%, so bear that in mind if you are using a Grassy Surge team. So High Horsepower is unfortunately a little less accurate and a little less powerful, but is not nerfed by Grassy Surge, so that's why I chose this. Now stat spread wise, I'm going for a max attack adamant with max HP. The reason I didn't go for max speed is because with 404 HP this thing's quite bulky and can actually live a surprise amount of hits, letting me get off a slow U-turn to pivot into something better, while also allowing me to, I suppose I don't need the speed necessarily because Grassy Glide will be priority anyway. And next up we have Ferrothorn. So it's a grass team, you have Ferrothorn, simple as that. The Ferrothorn is going to be my rock setter as well as my physically defensive wall. With Leech Seed leftovers and Grassy Surge, Ferrothorn can be recovering upwards of like 25% HP every turn depending on my opponent, which is very hard to break through, especially if they don't have like an immediately powerful fire move or fighting move, for example. Next up we have Stealth Rock for team support. It's just a great move to have. Even with heavy duty boots slightly nerfing it, it hurts things like fire types, ice types, flying types, bug types, all of which grass hates. So that's going to be super important. Next up we have Gyro Ball. I chose Gyro Ball over Body Press because I feel it hits some things just a bit more powerful, even though we don't have to invest much in Body Press to have it be powerful because it takes off your defense stat instead of your attack stat. But I suppose one of the main reasons for Gyro Ball would be dealing with things like Dragapult, who gives my team a lot of hassle, so who's obviously immune to Body Press. And finally, I have Thunder Wave. Thunder Wave is nice for kind of paralyzing threats that come in. It could be an Ultra Beast, it could be Dragapult, as I said a second ago, it could be Charizard, or maybe Volcarona who want to Dragon Dance or Quiver Dance in my face. I can Thunder Wave them and hopefully, cripple them for later on in the game. Next up we have Kartana. Kartana is going to be my endgame sweeper. If something gets low in the face of Kartana and it gets a KO, its attack stat is monstrous. 181 base before adamant, that's 461 attack, which is obscenely high. I think that's like second only to maybe Mega Heracross and Mega Mewtwo. So after a single KO, Beast Boost will allow my attack to go up a stage, making it insanely powerful, and it has quite a good speed tier, outspeeding a large amount of Choice Scarf threats already in the tier. So we have Knockoff, which is great for team support, as well as hitting things like Psychic types, and kind of just starting to do a sweep. Unfortunately, Knockoff is slightly worse in national decks because Mega Stones are back, and because Z Crystals are back. You can't knock those off, so it's slightly worse. Next up you have Sacred Sword. Sacred Sword ignores stat changes, which can be nice. For example, if my opponent is using an Iron Defense Corviknight, for example, then Kartana's Sacred Sword will ignore that and hopefully wear it down enough to get some KOs. Next up we have Smart Strike. Smart Strike is just decent stab. Unfortunately, despite this thing having an amazing move, stat spread and amazing ability, its move pool is somewhat shallow, especially when it comes to steel moves. As I can show you here, if I look up steel moves, Smart Strike is the only offensive physical one it gets besides Hidden Power Steel, which is special, and of course its special stat is much, much worse. Thankfully this does bypass accuracy checks, which doesn't play too much of a role, but sometimes in the low ladder you will see like Snowcloak builds, Bright Powder, even like Tangled Feet builds. And finally we have Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade has a high crit ratio, which can be nice to score necessary KOs on the off chance RNG favours me. It also is boosted by grassy terrain and is stab, so just generally very strong to click in neutral. Next up we have Breloom. So Breloom is the reason I decided to use this team, just because I said earlier in the video I had a weird craving to use Breloom, don't know why. So my Breloom is going to be max attack adamant over Jolly, and the reason I chose this is because I feel I have decent speed control on the team. With the likes of Choice Scarf, Kartana, Rillaboom with priority and Superior is generally quite fast, as well as Mach Punch being priority itself and boosted by Stab and Technician, up to about 90 base, which is quite strong. So at max attack adamant with Life Orb, it does hit quite hard. Bullet Seed is another move that hits quite hard. It does hit 2 to 5 times, and 25 base does seem quite weak, but with Grassy Surge I think it's boosted up to around 32.5, I think, top of my head. That is before Stab and before Technician, so it does become quite strong, especially hitting 2 to 5 times, allowing me to break Sashes, allowing me to break Sturdy, for example. And finally we have Rock Tomb, and Rock Tomb is just really good for dealing with things that Grass doesn't like to deal with, like Ice types, Bug types, Fire types, Flying types. Again, the reason why Grass likes Stealth Rock so much on their team, as well as that it does lower their speed, allowing Braylon to potentially outspeed something. If they swap into a Rock Tomb, for example, they lower their speed a stage, and that will potentially let Braylon outspeed it, and the Bullet Seed maybe Mach Punch and KO. And finally we do have Spore. So I forgot to mention Spore, and it's pretty self-explanatory to anyone who's played competitive Pokemon. And to those of you who don't, Sleep is really good, and it's a 100% accuracy, basically incapacitating a threat for a couple of turns, allowing me to either swap in Pokemon or maybe click like Rock Tomb, Bullet Seed, Mach Punch, for example, just to deal tons of damage to them. So the final member of the squad is going to be Venusaur, and Venusaur is going to be basically my fire and ice check on the team. Unfortunately, it does have to Mega Evolve before it gets access to Thick Fat, therefore making it slightly harder to swap into ice moves or fire moves. But when it does Mega Evolve, it does offer me quite a nice quite a nice resistance to those attacks. So I'm going for max special defense, max HP nature to kind of go in contrast with Ferrothorn. Synthesis allows me to gain longevity, especially in the sun against things like Charizard. I can basically get all my HP back against them clicking Flamethrower, and I should be able to live thanks to Thick Fat and having very specially defensive build. We have Hidden Power Rock as well to deal with said fire types or flying types. So what Hidden Power Rock allows me to do is kind of click this in the face of Charizard Y, in the face of like Volcarona, some flying types that can give my team hassle. I can click Hidden Power Rock, which is just generally nice coverage on a grass type. Next up we have Earth Power. Earth Power is generally just quite good for steel types, for dealing with like other fire types that don't fly or levitate, like Torkoal for example, who's a Sunsetter, and thanks to Chlorophyll before I Mega Evolve I actually will get double speed, allowing me to outspeed a lot of fire threats. It also hits things like Cinderace quite nicely. And finally we have Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb is just good, a coverage move with 30% chance to poison, which is quite nice because Venusaur does not have any special attack investment. It's not the most offensively threatening, so sometimes we do have to rely on those 30% poison chances to kind of slowly whittle down my opponent. So that's going to be the team today, and I'm going to pause there until we find some games and I'll be right back. So we have our first game, and right off the bat I can see things like Drifloon, Drifblim, Charizard, Galvantula, Dragapult. They all kind of give my team trouble, so it's not going to be the easiest game here, but I'm going to try open up a Ferrothorn, especially they may be able to go Galvantula and get sticky webs down. Now the lower speed will definitely be annoying for my team, but it's not the end of the world. I will get Stealth Rocks down and just start Gyro Balling this. I don't think it can threaten me too much, even with Bug Buzz, as Gyro Ball doesn't do much damage. I will click it again, as Bug Buzz is a lot more than I anticipated, but that is partially due to a critical hit. So we take care of Galvantula there. Unfortunately they do have Sticky Web down on my team, though speed is not the most important on my team. It definitely is annoying for Kartana, but Superior, thanks to Contrary, will actually get a speed boost from fighting it. Nice, we get the Stealth Rock chip on Charizard, and just in case it wants to set up in my face, I will click T-Wave here, as they go straight for a Flamethrower, so good play on their part. But I'm not sure if knockoff KOs this percentage. So unfortunately I have to see here what I think is the most expendable. I think it is Breloom, so what I'm going to do with Breloom is click Grassy Glide. And it is not very effective, but it should definitely put it in range of Kartana getting a KO here, because that does no kind of damage. Oof. So I may have just messed up here. Kartana does outspeed, and unfortunately Leaf Blade is quarter by effective, so I think knockoff is the play here. And I really underestimate how powerful Kartana is, and the Dragapult pretty much has to reveal itself to be a physical or a special attacking build if it wants to take care of my Kartana, as they've taken Porygon too. I'll knock this off again. Getting rid of its Eviolite would be quite nice for me in the long run, as I probably die. I would have died to an Ice Beam, I think, because Kartana's special defense is actually paper. It has 99 special defense, which is just terrible. But thankfully they do give us Porygon too, so Dragapult is the last kind of big threat in their team, as they end up forfeiting. So I would have had to save Kartana to deal with Drifbloom probably in the end game, and Dragapult, I believe between Venusaur and Superior I could have taken care of it thanks to Dragon Pulse. So that's going to be our first win. We get a nice 52 points there, and we're going to pause till we find the next game. So we have our next game, and it is going to be again tough because Magearna is here. Even the low ladder, I'm not seeing like teams that are kind of not out of the ordinary or anti-meta, so we do see some decent teams here. It's going to be a struggle to deal with Magearna, as well as Medicham can be quite strong against my team, so I'm going to have to play this one carefully. And again, I think Kartana is my best friend. I'll open up here at Ferrothorn as they go Mew. So I think a T-Wave here early on is quite nice, even though they do Fire Punch me. And because of Synchronize, I will be paralyzed myself, but I'm not too worried about that. Hopefully I can get in Venusaur here, and thanks to Thick Fat, I will easily live this next hit. I'm just going to start clicking Sludge Bomb. So Sludge Bomb hits everything except Magearna coming in, as they stay in. And they keep going for Fire Punch, which is doing very little damage to me. So they end up swapping to a Psychic Fangs, which is a bit of a nuisance to me. So I'm going to have to play this one carefully and kind of roll till I get a para here, I think. As they are out damaging me. Yeah, I don't have the... I'm going to Psychic Synthesis one more time. As they're just not getting the paras here. So I was hoping to get a para there and then swap into Ferrothorn and get some chip damage on them. But unfortunately it's not going to do too much. And I kind of end up sacking... Or do I? Unfortunately, I also get the Paralyze. Unfortunate there. I just really want my Leech Seed down here. As it ends up missing. Okay, this is not going in my favor. I'm not playing the best either, I will have to admit that. But it's getting to the stage where Kartana can deal some good damage. So I'm going to try set up with Rillaboom. By clicking Swords Dance in their face. As they go into their own Rillaboom. They could be acrobatic, so I'm going to U-turn out of here. And thankfully I just about survive. Now they can click Grassy Glide against me, but I believe at this percentage Leaf Storm does get a KO. It also helps me bluff the fact that I'm Choice Scarf, which I'm not. So they go into Medicham and actually give me Medicham, which is a huge threat to my team, so I definitely welcome that. And because this is Grassy Terrain boosted, I should get the KO here again. Nice, Superior put it in, good work. As Dracovish comes out. So unfortunately with this I kind of screamed that, hey, I'm actually not Choice Scarf like I might be, so I'm going to sack Venusaur, as I think it served its purpose in this game, to a Psychic Fangs coming out. So I believe Kartana can easily live a hit, and I just click Leaf Blade. I'm surprised they stay in, I thought they'd go Mag. But a +1 Leaf Blade here will definitely KO. And lets me get +2 and Grassy Terrain boosted, so this is going to do a chunk of damage. Nice. So they ended up leaving Magearna for last. Now unless they're like a Draining Kiss build, I do not see them being able to win this, because I can Mach Punch out of this. As they go for Calm Mind, so that's going to be game. GG. So that was a close one there. I actually didn't expect to win that towards the middle. But we managed to pull it off and get some nice points for that. So again, I'm going to pause till I find the next one. So we have the next game, and immediately all I can think of is I do not want to deal with Rotom Heat. This thing is going to be annoying for me to deal with. So I think turn 1 I actually want to try and Mega Evolve my Venusaur as early as possible. As unfortunately they take in Beedrill, though I should live a single hit I believe, and I will try Synthesis off on what's going to be a U-turn I imagine. So why I wanted to Mega Evolve Venusaur here is so I can swap into Rotom Heat later in the game if it wants to click Overheat. And I can Synthesis back all the damage they did with U-turn. Unfortunately this does let them grab momentum, but there's nothing that like loves swapping into Venusaur. So unfortunately my internet has decided the last couple of days that it doesn't want to work in my favour and keeps wanting to disconnecting me, which can be annoying, but we'll have to deal with that nonetheless. So they swapped into Ferrothorn as I recovered all my HP with Synthesis, and here I kind of get my own Ferrothorn in. And they get Spikes down, that is not good for my team. They take in Rotom Heat, but this is exactly why I Mega Evolved my Venusaur early in the game. So I should be able to live an Overheat here quite nicely. That does no kind of damage. I will try to get the HP back with Synthesis, as they do end up paralyzing me. So their team is good at grabbing momentum with their Volt Switch and U-turn core, as they go back into Ferrothorn here. So I think my play is to try and set up a sub with Superior. Though it's possible it can break my sub, as they end up protecting, which is great for me this turn, as it allows me to get a Leaf Storm now into a Hidden Power Fire. As they end up going Dragapult. So that to me kind of screams, hey, I'm Infiltrator. And I will click Leaf Storm again. And what do you know, it is Infiltrator. I think it's probably Specs, but I can't be too certain and throw away my Kartana in case it is actually Scarf. So we'll click Earth Power here, getting a nice chunk of damage on this. And I guess here I'm trying to go for a Kartana endgame, as I kind of always am. So Rotom comes in here, and I'll try poison it with Sludge Bomb. As they go for a nasty plot, and unfortunately I'm paralyzed. So this is definitely not good for me, but the paralysis, I mean the poison helps massively here. And I think in this game, I almost want to say I throw my Breloom, but I think I want it for Ferrothorn. Because I think I can actually start getting a Kartana sweep off now, especially if I get a KO on the Rotom. I'll try Synthesis here in case I do live, which I do, and thanks to the special defense drop, I should live the next one as well. Just about. This forces them to have to nasty plot again if they want to do significant damage to me. So the reason I'm keeping Ferrothorn alive is pretty much only for Beedrill. It's a nice pivot into Beedrill. As GlitchxCity ends up coming out, and unfortunately I don't get the synthesis off. So with GlitchxCity, I think I want to Leech Seed this as early as possible, as it ends up defogging away my hazards, which I'm completely okay with. So I can just get these down again. That's not an issue for me. Ferrothorn has certainly become a bother for me in the endgame, as Greninja ends up coming out. What can Greninja do to me? I'm going to try Leech Seed this and just scout for what it does, as it goes for a Dark Pulse. That's okay, because I get most of my HP back, and here I can kind of just T-Wave this. Nice. So because I'm specially defensive, I believe Venusaur should live a hit, as it is slightly more powerful than I anticipated. They go back into GlitchxCity, presumably wanting to try and defog away again. And I think in this position I get in Rillaboom and start clicking my Swords Dance. Unfortunately, I forgot that gets rid of terrain, so I'm actually going to U-turn on the Beedrill coming in. And this is when Kartana starts getting KOs. I feel Knockoff is the best play here, as I think it actually knocks off Beedrill, because Beedrill's defenses are about as paper thin as Kartana's special defense. So even an unboosted Knockoff gets the KO here. So Ferrothorn comes in. It might T-Wave me, which is definitely an issue, but I value knocking off its leftovers so much. As it is actually Rocky Helm. My bad, I should have checked for that. That's okay, because I think Breloom kind of comes in here. And I click Rock Tomb just in case Dragapult comes in, as it ends up going for a Protect. So I'll Mach Punch into this. Which almost gets me a KO, which is pretty good because it puts me in the range of my Kartana actually getting KO and kind of sweeping the endgame. So here I will sack my Ferrothorn, as unfortunately I didn't think of the Iron Barbs actually getting the KO there. So that's definitely my bad. They go in Dragapult here, as they click Shadow Wall. So I think on this, I just click Grassy Glide because I expect this to be Specs. If it is Specs, it can probably one-hit KO. If it's Scarf, it shouldn't be able to. And nothing on their team particularly likes swapping into a Grassy Glide. So Rillaboom is probably their best answer to me right now. But I always U-turn off on the defog, because this gets rid of their spikes as well, which is definitely a hindrance to them as well. Now unfortunately GlitchxCity isn't the easiest to deal with, but Bullet Punch should do a decent bit of damage. And they can't Roost, because if they do Roost, they lose their Flying typing, become pure ground, and then Bullet Punch will do twice the damage. So their best play here to try and kill me, and unless they're Facade, I don't think Earthquake can kill. And nothing like swapping into Bullet Seed at all. So Dragapult comes back out. And again I sack Breloom here to get in Rillaboom and just click Grassy Glide. So unfortunately it has not been revealed to me if this is Specs or Scarf yet, which is definitely not in my favour. And I think I'm just going to have to go for the roll. So they should defog here this turn to get... Oh, they can't because I'm actually get priority. Which means regardless, I win the game here. GG. So they end up forfeiting, and Grassy Glide absolutely would have KO'd Dragapult in this range. So I'm going to pause there till I find another game. So we have another game, and I'm actually kind of somewhat worried about what they're going to do to me in this game. So I'm going to open up with Breloom to try and get my Spore down as early as possible. So this does seem like, you know, kind of a joke team. It's only 2 Pokemon, but I have lost to like single Pokemon before, so I'm not taking any chances here. As Bullet Seed gets a chunk of damage off from them. And reveals that it's just going to be Jirachi left, which is quite nice for me. So this could be a fast game, but you never know, maybe Jirachi is going to absolutely obliterate me. I don't like this Cosmic Powering. So what I'm going to do is try and Leech Seed it immediately. Just to wear it down. And I'm going to T-Wave here in case it wakes up this turn. As they end up forfeiting, so my main concern there is it possibly would have been like a stored power build which could have ended up sweeping my team. So we actually got decent points off that guy, and he was not high, but higher than I expected. If he was only using that team, which is pretty cool to get that high. So we're going to pause there till we find another game. So we have our next game, and boy do I hate dealing with things like Scolipede. Scolipede could be a huge threat to my team, as well as Dragapult just being quite threatening as well. So in this game, I expect them to maybe want to open up with either Toxapex or Excadrill. So I'm going to try open up with Superior, as they go Dragapult to turn 1. That's not good for me. Good luck, have fun. Especially if this is a Fire Blast build, this can be very detrimental to me. As they end up T-Waving turn 1. So I'll try Mega Evolve here and just get a Poison off if possible. As they go into Aggron, good play. It does let me click Earth Power. If they do Mega Evolve, it can definitely be an issue for me, as it will do no kind of damage. That was actually surprisingly strong. So I'm going to try Synthesis off the Fire Punch damage here, as I am unfortunately paralyzed. Come on, Breakthrough Venusaur. You just need the 1. Nice. So Scolipede is a huge issue to my team, which is why I want to kind of nip this thing in the bud while I can. Gyro Ball does a ton of damage to it, and I think I value that over T-Wave because it will end up outspeeding me regardless. So they go back into this, and I can take on my Venusaur again. I'll risk an Earth Power, though it is a risk. And I think here I always go, actually no, I Synthesis back up first. Come on, Breakthrough Venusaur, nice. And now I get the KO by swapping into Ferrothorn. Now I will take a chunk of damage to Fire Punch unfortunately, but I shouldn't take enough that Scolipede will be able to KO me back. As they go into this. Is this Fire Blast? I'm going to T-Wave it. It's Flamethrower, and unfortunately it gets the KO. It's Life Orb Flamethrower, which does reveal to me that Kartana does outspeed and Knockoff will get a KO. If they swap out, there's not much that can swap into a Kartana's Knockoff. So unfortunately I lose Ferrothorn, which is not good for me against things like Venipede or Scolipede. But unfortunately for them, they are actually quickly losing swap-ins to my Kartana. If this isn't Choice Scarf or Focus Sash, you die. Yep. With Scope Lens. Okay, now basically nothing lives a +2 Kartana. Toxapex could roll for the Scald, I suppose, which is definitely annoying for me. Again, you have to be Sash to live this. Yeah, that's another KO. So our Kartana is absolutely the MVP in this game, as we get another pretty nice win thanks to Kartana just being able to completely sweep their team. So I'm going to pause there till we find another game. So we have our next game, and I do not want to have to deal with things like Typhlosion and Salamence. They can be huge threats to my team. So with that in mind, we're going to open up Venusaur. and kind of just click Sludge Bomb early, try and get a poison off from their team if possible, as they go for Ice Beam, and it is Protean. So they do reveal themselves to be Life Orb Protean, but thankfully I get the poison off, and with Thick Fat I easily live. Please don't freeze Venusaur. Nice. So thanks to Life Orb and Poison Chip, we get the KO, and Venusaur is relatively quite healthy. So I think I want to Earth Power this turn 1 as I expected it to be Eruption. Now thanks to Thick Fat we live, and I should live this next one because Eruption is going to be a lot weaker. And I can just click Synthesis in their face. And here I click Sludge Bomb just in case they want to swap into like Salamence on what they think could be a Earth Power coming out. Nice, so that's one huge threat to my team gone. Salamence is the next biggest threat. As Raikou comes out. I guess I can click Extrasensory. Maybe Calm Mind can be annoying too. Looks like Hidden Power Fire and does very little damage. So I click Sludge Bomb again here, and one of the big reasons I chose Gyro Ball over Body Press on my Ferrothorn is it's very good against Dragon Dancers like Dragonite, Salamence, basically any Dragon Dancer, especially the Flying types one who resist Body Press. So they go in Snorlax. Snorlax can undeniably be an issue for my team, which is why I think Breloom comes in here. As they click Spore, Curse, so I'm going to click Spore. They are Chesto Berry, so they're Resto Berry. Not good for me at all. So here I should probably ideally just be trying to get the KO. Not messing around with sleep. As they end up forfeiting, that's surprising. So maybe they might rest talk. They must have just been like rest with Chesto Berry to wake them up. So another nice win there, and we're going to pause till we find another game. So we're fighting the last guy we fought again. We know this Dragapult is Life Orb Flamethrower, so I'm going to open up with Venusaur here and click Earth Power turn 1, I think. So I want to Mega Evolve Venusaur as soon as possible to give me the ability to swap into Dragapult later on. As they... Are they Metal Burst? No, they're regular Fire Punch. So the fact they didn't Mega Evolve there actually let me drop them to 1 HP because they're quad effective and no longer a filter. Wow, that did a lot of damage. Are they Banded? It seemed a lot stronger than last time. I'll have to look back at the video and check. So I know this is Life Orb Flamethrower, which means I can always get in Venusaur on this, as Flamethrower does no kind of damage. And just click Synthesis. So I think it's important for Ferrothorn to stay alive for Scolipede. And I click Leech Seed here. I think Gyro Ball might be the better play in the long run. Oh, but they go for Rock Slide, which will do no damage. So I actually ended up gaining net HP there. I'm going to throw a Stealth Rock down. It'll be good for Scolipede in the long run. So I'll always go back in Venusaur here. Every time. As Flamethrower does no kind of damage. And just click Earth Power, trying to get off as much damage as possible on this guy. As they missed their Thunder Wave, unfortunately for them. So that definitely sucks. But absolutely any chip I can get on Dragapult is worth it. And now they're at the point where they will die to Stealth Rock coming back in. So I'll click Synthesis here. As they take in Scolipede. Okay, that'll just be getting Ferrothorn. So this puts me in a great position. They're always trying to protect on the swap in as I end up forfeiting again. So another nice game there. And it is low ladder at the moment, so these games are going to be a lot easier. They will get a lot tougher as the ladder climbs up, I believe. So we're going to pause there till we find another game. So we have a game, and this one can be a lot tougher because Heatran is very, very tough for my team to deal with. As well as Lopunny, it can actually be quite a big threat. Landorus can be quite strong too, depending if it's Supersonic Sky Strike or not. So on this team, I think I'm actually going to open up a Serperior as they go in Heatran. That is an awful, awful play on my part. I should never open up a Serperior. I'm going to have to go into Venusaur, who might die straight up, and I managed to avoid Magnastorm, which is super big for me, so my really bad play actually kind of pulled off there, as that did a lot of damage, even after Mega Evolving. Wow. I'm down, Heatran. So I actually think I'm going to have to sack my Venusaur here just to get an Earth Power off on this, which nicely gets the KO, so I actually end up not having to sack it. So that was a terrible series of plays from me, and I only got bailed out due to pure luck. So I think here I go Ferrothorn and what I expect to be a fake out. If they went straight for a close combat, great play, and now I'll swap back into Venusaur to sack it on the high jump kick. So I'm in the position now where I can take in Breloom and click Mach Punch, or I can get in Rillaboom. So I'm going to take in Breloom and click Mach Punch. They don't have too much of a swap into this, as they end up actually giving me Lopunny, which is huge, because if they swapped into something like Clefable or Toxapex, I could have spored them. Because they go in Clefable. Don't be max speed for some reason. Nice. So I'll just click Bullet as they get a turn 1 wake up. That is very annoying for me. I'm going to Spore again. And just try click Bullet Seed here. What? Are you serious? Now click Spore again. I refuse to let this wake up turn 1 every turn. And we're actually going to Rock Tomb here, in case Landorus came in. Nice, that did some damage. Okay. It didn't wake up this time. And now we'll click Rock Tomb again in case Landorus wants to come in. So we got rid of Clefable, which could have been an issue for me. And I think I value keeping Breloom alive for Kartana, as it actually just comes straight in and lets me Mach Punch it right in the face. So Adamant Life for Breloom really pulling through for me. I'm going to Spore you too. This becomes a bit more of an issue, as I think I have to behind a sub with Serperior and start chipping it down with Leaf Storm. It might be Haze, but even still my Leaf Storm does a lot of damage. As it's T-Spikes, I have no issue with that whatsoever. So even if it hazes here, I still think it loses the trade. Oh wow, that was strong. And Lando comes in, and assuming I land this Leaf Storm, it does get KO'd, so GG. So I think that's going to be the episode today. We had, I think, maybe 7 or 8 games, I'll check right now, up to 12:37. Yeah, so we got 8 wins and 0 losses, so that's pretty good for the first episode. As I said, it is early ladder, it's going to get a lot harder as the games progress. We got some nice wins there today. So I believe off the top of my head, top 500 at the moment is 1562. I expect that to move up a bit by the time I actually manage to climb up that high. So I reckon we'll be looking at like 1600 by the time I maybe get to top 500. So it's going to be a fun climb. I hope you did enjoy this new format of playing monotypes. If you did, let me know. Leave a like, a comment, subscribe. I will link the Discord down below. Come say hey in Discord. Say like, hey, liking the content, you know. Every little bit I truly appreciate, especially on such a small channel. I'm just trying to grow. So if you did like it, let me know, and I will leave the team link down below. That said, I wouldn't necessarily recommend using the team, as it is built for NatDex, it's not built for Monotype. So, but if for some reason you want to use it, I'll leave the Pokepaste down below, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Take care.